The rising costs that could hurt, they say, them and even their business, possibly have it close altogether.
CBS News Philadelphia's Eva Anderson shares why they say there's more than just beer on the line.
At Love City Brewing in Cowell Hill,
the beer gets filled right here. You can see the little mechanism coming down to actually put beer in the can.
Thousands of cans are packed each day.
Every year we spend tens of thousands of dollars on aluminum. You can see it all right here.
It's why co-founder Melissa Walter is anxious about the tariffs on aluminum as well as tariffs on Canadian imports.
To have a 25% increase in our raw materials costs, that has to go somewhere.
That was always our motto. Here's a snapshot of some of the capital outlay projects that I've completed as your state senator for our beloved Southern University. We put $11.1 million in for a new Law Center library. Another $32 million for the ravine on the bluff. And did you know we put $67.5 million to build a new STEM science complex, which broke ground on Tuesday.
Trump to make NATO stronger. NATO protects us here at home. It's a stabilizing force for good. It's in America's interest to keep Europe safe, free, and independent. And the sooner we can end this conflict between Ukraine and Russia, the better. Absolutely. And I'm a big fan of NATO, and I'm a big fan of Mark.
His billionaire buddy Elon Musk pledged another $100 million to support Trump's political campaign efforts. The public corruption at the very core of this is just shocking.
They administer to over 70 million people in the nation's #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly and children. Shame! Shame! Can't bring people in front of this body? If he's right, if they're so good, if they're so just, why aren't they here telling the American people about it? They're not, because you know the truth. It's about privatization. I yield back.
That is veteran Democratic Congressman John Larson of Connecticut, just ripping the bark off today about Social Security and what Republicans are really doing here.
The economic squeeze is real, but Musk and Trump are not helping by firing public servants, hiking hidden taxes tied to tariffs, and sabotaging our retirement savings. And now Elon Musk is openly calling for Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid to be on the chopping block. We cannot afford their reckless policies.
And yet in this case, you have the President of the United States ordering federal agents to arrest somebody based on his speech. This is a moment where all Americans should take note, because they're using their executive power to demand conformance with the speech they like and against speech they don't like. And the president under our Constitution does not have that authority.
Interests. I mean, look, what Donald Trump has done since he's become president, he's not looking for peace. He's basically looking to cripple Ukraine so that Russia can win the war and take over Ukraine. There is no pressure on Putin and Russia right now. Meanwhile, President Trump is undermining Ukraine's ability to defend itself and showing Putin a big, fat target that he can just take.
So with respect to Ukraine, that never really occurred. When Senator Rand Paul sought a GAO report to ascertain how the funding had been used, who were the end users, was it used for the intended purposes that the Congress had appropriated and authorized it for, he was called an agent of Putin.
Yeah, that's the standard attack. Is if you don't just cut the checks, you're an enemy of the state, the deep state maybe. And that's where you look at Bridget Brink. She's actually worked to get rid of the prosecutor that was going to look in Ukraine into Hunter Biden, who was going to look into things that we should have an interest in, that we should have accountability. Because what's lacking when you're kept in the dark is accountability. And that's exactly what the Biden administration worked to avoid on every front.
Now, I don't know if we've ever done this before, but I have a challenge. You think you can do that? Shake it? You want to shake it? Thank you, sir. Thank you, my colleague.
Now, I judge that it makes it easier, and so I can't support it. The basics here are this. Republicans are in charge, right? They need Democratic votes to pass a funding bill, but they never negotiated with Democrats. They didn't even try. They wrote their own partisan bill. They filled it with all sorts of right-wing shit. This isn't a continuing resolution. It doesn't just continue last year's funding, even though the press is reporting it that way. It makes big changes to law, and they're all changes designed to make it easier for Trump to implement that plan to destroy our country. For instance, it makes massive cuts to housing programs, to Social Security, to programs for health care for working families.
This is a code red, shout it from the rooftops moment. Trump is letting Elon Musk steal our children's futures. He's trying to shut down an agency that funds after-school programs, an agency that helps millions of kids get the financial aid they need when they go to college, an agency that enforces our civil rights laws that protect our students. So if you're a student or if you're a public school teacher, Trump is sending a message loud and clear.
But I will not support this Republican House bill that simply gives Elon Musk more fuel and more tools to dismantle big parts of the federal government in order to rig it for people like himself and the very rich. So I will vote no on that continuing resolution.